It's not for a believing man or a believing woman, neither men, no male, no female. If Allah and His Messenger decide or decree or legislate a matter, that they should have any choice in it. When Allah decrees something, we don't have a choice to say, I think, or I believe, or my opinion is, or my position is. None of these words should come from the mouth of a man or a woman who believes in Allah after they are sure that the command came from Allah. We see that there is a huge effort being made by the enemies of Islam, by those people who want to extinguish the light of Allah Azza wa Jal, to attack the Muslim woman, not so much physically as attacking her through doubts and misconceptions, telling her that you don't have to do this and you don't have to do that and this is not obligatory and you shouldn't do, until she becomes confused about what Allah Azza wa Jal wants her to do. By appealing to her desire. Every woman wants to look beautiful. Every woman wants to look beautiful. Every woman wants to look her best. And so the shaitan wants to appeal to the Muslim woman when she goes out to decorate her hijab and to make herself look very, very beautiful, because this is naturally appealing to her in herself. And so the shaitan appeals to her desires. And there is a huge effort from shayateen al-ins wal-jinn, from the shayateen of the jinn and the men, to attack the foundation of our ummah, the thing which holds us together in terms of the Muslim, our Muslim women, our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, our wives. Because the shayateen from the jinn and the men, they know that if they achieve this, then they will have weakened the men and the women in a very severe way, in a way that is very, very strong, and in a way that is very effective to achieve their aims. And this being, and anyone who sort of is keeping up to date with what is going on in the world today, can see the amount of effort that is being put into a sustained attack against the values that practicing Muslim women hold, and trying to prevent them from their religion in things that men are not prevented from. And you only have to see in the West, and particularly in Western Europe, the efforts to ban the hijab. None of them want to ban the beard. None of them want to ban your thiyab from being above your ankles. Their efforts are towards attacking the Muslim woman, because it serves their aims in weakening the Muslims, and it serves their desires in being able to see the women wearing what they desire the women to wear. And so they, for example, tell the woman, you are free to wear nothing, but you're not free to cover yourself. If you cover yourself, you'll be fined or imprisoned, but if you wear nothing, this is your freedom. And how we should go about raising our iman and increasing our iman with the permission of Allah, to such an extent that we can withstand these kind of attacks which are being made, these kind of ideological attacks against the women in our community, in our religion, in our society. Maybe, for example, you don't fully understand why it is that women are required to wear the hijab and men are not required to wear the hijab. That is something that comes with knowledge. People of knowledge understand why. However, maybe at a certain point somebody comes, especially a new Muslim or newly practicing Muslim, and says, I don't really understand that. We say that ultimately understanding it is not as important as recognizing that it is a command that came from Allah, and Allah knows best what is going to correct our society and ourselves. It's not a requirement that I should understand the illah, the reason for every ruling in Islam. If I understand the reason, alhamdulillah. And if I don't understand the reason, then I know it is from Hakim Khabir, from the most wise and the one who knows and is aware of everything. And that if He decrees something for me, it's going to be best for me. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows, i.e. Allah knows what is best for you. Because this ayah talks about you loving something and hating when it's good, when it's bad for you, and hating something when it's good for you. And then Allah said, وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows what is good for you, and you don't know what's good for you. So ultimately, even if you don't understand some of the rulings we're going to mention today, what you have to understand is that these rulings came from, or come from, Allah and from His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And therefore, we obey even if we have yet to understand the reason or the wisdom behind it. And if we understand the wisdom, that makes us even stronger. And I'll do my best to explain according to my limited ability, some of the wisdoms behind these rulings today. However, ultimately, once we recognize that a ruling comes from Allah and His Messenger, Allah Azza wa Jal told us, وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَن يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. It's not for a believing man or a believing woman, neither men nor male nor female. If Allah and His Messenger decide or decree or legislate a matter, that they should have any choice in it. You don't have a choice. As Allah Azza wa Jal said in another ayah, that they submit to it with complete submission. وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. They submit to it completely. Because we are Muslim. What does the word Muslim mean? Somebody who submits to Allah, male and female. We submit to Allah. Meaning we submit to what Allah has legislated for us in Islam. The rules and the regulations and the laws that Allah has decreed for us in Islam, we submit to them. Because we know that Allah Azza wa Jal knows what is best for us, and we have submitted to Him in Islam. And therefore, when Allah decrees something, we don't have a choice to say, I think, or I believe, or my opinion is, or my position is. None of these words should come from the mouth of a man or a woman who believes in Allah after they are sure that the command came from Allah. You don't have al-khiyarah, you don't have a choice after that. And whoever disobeys Allah and His Messenger has indeed gone far astray. Because some of our sisters in Islam, and I alluded to this in the beginning of the khutbah, mashallah, tabarakallah, they have a heart with a good intention. And they want to correct themselves. And they want to cover. And you see them covering properly in every way. And then they are exposed to the YouTube hijab tutorials. And Allahul Musta'an. Some shaitana, a devil in the sight or in the clothing of a human being, comes and says that this is how you should wear your hijab. And then they take this sister who wants to wear the hijab and they ruin her. And they teach her how to beautify her hijab so that she looks more beautiful in her hijab than she does out of her hijab. And in Facebook and Twitter and all of the rest, that the people are there and they are not saying to our sisters, take off your hijab. They are telling them to take it off in a different way, to beautify it, to put on the makeup, to wear it in a style that makes you look good. I say to our sisters in Islam, if your hijab looks good, it is not the Islamic hijab. Wallahi, if your hijab looks good, you have contradicted the very asal, the very fundamental, the very purpose of the hijab. The purpose of the hijab is to divert the sight. The purpose of the hijab is to conceal. The purpose of the hijab is to protect. The purpose of the hijab is to set a standard and to send a message that this sister is a practicing Muslim woman and she's not the kind of cheap individual with low self-worth that sells themselves for a low price. That is what the hijab is for. And there are sisters telling our sisters in Islam, and they are coming and telling our sisters in Islam to remove their hijab in a different way.
whether it is the way that they wear it, or the color, or the design, or the way to look at it, and none of them have any knowledge of Islam or any knowledge of fiqh, and yet they come and in a way that attracts people who want to practice Islam. And this is from the shubahat that we must be careful of. This is from the shubahat that as brothers and sisters we must be careful of. And so this khutbah today is not simply aimed towards only our sisters in Islam, but towards the brothers who are responsible for them, and indeed towards the whole Muslim community, to come together to protect one of our greatest assets in Islam. The greatest mata', the best of the pleasures of this dunya, the best thing that you can have in this dunya is a pious woman. And this asset of ours is being eroded and attacked by the non-Muslims and by some of the Muslims as well. And so it's an obligation upon all of us to come together to stop this, to come together to educate, to support, and to encourage and to teach our families, and to prevent them from those things which would harm them, whether those things come from the school, or whether they come from the TV, or whether they come from the internet.